I'm John Chadwell, and today we're at Hollister Municipal Airport, and it's hosting the latest leg of the Wings of Freedom tour that is hosted, or I should say the Collins Foundation sponsors it. And this is Caroline Collins of the Collins family and the Collins Foundation, and from what I understand, the only qualified female pilot of a B-24, which is pretty distinctive.
That's right.
First of all, can you tell us a little bit about the Wings of Freedom tour and what it's all about?
Sure. The Wings of Freedom tour is a project of the Collins Foundation. This is the 17th year that we are bringing a B-17 Flying Fortress and a B-24 Liberator around the country. We travel for 10 months every year, and we go to over 130 cities to bring some rare World War II aircraft around the country for people to explore.
So when we say the Collins Foundation is a nonprofit foundation for educational purposes, what is the kind of areas that it concentrates on as far as education? Now this is, I guess, primarily World War II aircraft and the pilots and the crews, and am I right?
This particular exhibit is all about history and World War II history. It's a transport-related foundation, so we have a car collection and we have aircraft as well from different eras. Mm-hmm. But the Wings of Freedom tour is really about serving as a flying memorial for World War II veterans and that whole generation that took part during World War II. And also, we like to see it as an educational tool. We get a lot of school groups coming out, and it's a great opportunity for children and others as well to get a hands-on experience with World War II.
I understand that the planes, did it start with the B-24? What did it start with? Because I understood, the way I would have been told was that they were going to stop it, then they found out it was self-supporting. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, the planes were acquired in the 80s, both the B-24 and the B-17. The B-24 was acquired before the B-17. The B-24 was originally going to be a static display only because it was such a major restoration. But then as the project went along and the veterans were, they were trying to convince the Collins Foundation that the plane needed to fly. And so the Collins Foundation made a promise to the B-24 veterans that the plane would fly. And that ended up in probably the largest restoration of a warbird ever to this day, the restoration of the B-24 to become a flying aircraft.
What does it take to keep these planes flying financially?
Today, it's a cost of over $4,000 per flight hour. And that's mainly due to all the maintenance and that the parts are getting scarce. Some of the parts even have to be fabricated. And then, of course, the fuel price is hurting, and insurance as well. But the main portion of the cost is actually maintenance.
Okay. And you say you know a little bit about the history. You fly the B-24, co-pilot the B-17.
Yes.
And you're the only woman qualified to fly a B-24?
That's right. The B-24 of the Collins Foundation is the only flying B-24 in the world today. And I'm one of the very fortunate pilots that gets to fly it. And there are only, I think, 5 of us that are type rated, and I'm the only woman. It's hands-on flying at all times. Although they had an autopilot in the war, we never fly it with an autopilot. So you control the plane solely by the use of your muscle power, and you fly it at all times. And it's a bit of a challenge, but that's what makes it fun.
So tell me a little bit about the B-24. You said you knew its history?
Yes. The B-24 that we have in the background was actually flown by the Royal Air Force in India. It was built in 1944, and thereafter it was flown over to India and served with the English Royal Air Force. They abandoned it in India, and it was then flown by the Indian Air Force all the way up to 1965. They flew it, they patrolled as a patrol aircraft. Then again, it was abandoned, and it was just actually left at an airfield. And not until the 80s, there was an English collector that picked the airplane up, and he brought it in pieces to England. And from there, it was purchased by Bob Collins.
Ah. So tell, where's the next stop for the tour?
I don't know.
Well, Baffert Field or
No,
what?
actually, one of the biggest stops this year is at Moffett Field up in Mountain View. We're going to be there from the 31st of May till the 5th of June. And I'm very happy to have some very distinguished guests up there. We're going to have Jonna Doolittle, who's the granddaughter of Jimmy Doolittle, that has written a terrific book, and she's going to be up there signing it.
She's here today, too.
She's here today as well. And some of my personal favorites and heroes are the WASP, Women Air Force Service Pilots. Women that actually flew these aircraft behind us during the war in the 40s. They flew the aircraft at the home front to relieve other male pilots so they could go overseas. We're going to have at least 2 women up there representing the WASP, so that's going to be great. And they're going to meet the public and be available for autograph signings and so forth.
So is the tour already planned for next year? I mean, do you plan that far ahead so people can, so this would be sort of timeless, they can look forward to it next year?
Yes, it's not in detail planned every location, but for these 17 years that we've been doing this, we have started in Florida in January, and then we worked our way around the country in a big clockwise pattern, sort of following the good weather. And we are looking forward to be back in this area about the same time next year. And we have a website where people can follow our schedule, which is www.collingsfoundation.org. So
okay.
Perhaps you can put a sign up.
I will. We will do what we can.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Basically, tell us about qualifying, what it takes to qualify as the only woman B-24 pilot, and just a little bit about the plane. You may recover some of what you already talked about, but this is a different perspective.
Yeah, flying this plane today, we have to go through all the same types of checks as normal pilots have that fly modern planes. So we do check rides just as everyone else, and we can actually fly these aircraft in what's called instrument conditions. So I have a little autopilot panel here, and behind it I keep some of my more modern equipment that is used for navigation, and there are some radios there as well. We like to keep the plane as authentic as possible, but we still have to adhere to all the today's regulations and so forth. So this was a good way of keeping it authentic, but still having the modern technology in the plane.
So what was your incentive? Was it to fly this? I mean, did you? I assume you flew before, but I mean,
Yes.
Is it being part of the Collins family, or just you have an overwhelming desire to fly bombers?
Well, I was a commercial pilot when I started flying these planes, and just like the other volunteer pilots, I was asked, and I volunteered flying this plane, and that was long before I was ever a part of the Collins family. I flew this plane for a couple of years before I met my now husband, and the desire for me has always been to fly. And as a pilot, you have certain planes that might be your favorites. I grew up in Sweden, and I had no idea that these planes were still flying today. And I came over here and I went through flight training, and was amazed with the amount of aviation history that was still here in the United States. And I was very fortunate to be at a place in the time when they needed someone as a co-pilot, and I had the right qualifications, so that's how I got started. And it's a great opportunity to fly something this historic, and I even more impressed by meeting all the veterans that made history in these planes. So not only the flying itself, but to be able to meet the people that flew these planes and that sacrificed so much, that's even bigger than the actual flying of the aircraft.
Do they you told me the history of this plane, so do they actually have the flight logs going all the way back to when it was built?
No, we don't have the flight logs going all the way back. But we know, that basic part of the history of this aircraft. We know it was built in Fort Worth, Texas, at the Consolidated plant. I don't know the exact date, but it was in 1944, and that it was moved to India to fly for the Royal Air Force. So it does have combat history. During the war, they would say that a pilot who could taxi this plane to the runway could fly it.
Why was that?
It's because this plane is extremely hard to taxi or drive on the ground. It has no steering capability, nose wheel steering, so you have to control it by using differential thrust on the 4 engines. So you steer by moving your throttles back and forth to adjust for the direction that you want to go. And you have to use a little bit of differential brake on the 2 main wheels as well, but you don't want to brake too much because they have the old type expander tube brakes that are incredibly grabby. So a lot of people might think that it's the most difficult part of flying this aircraft is actually flying it in the air, but it's not. It's actually driving it on the ground.
So it's kind of a relief to get it off the ground, huh?
Yeah. Because a lot of times we have veterans around, and
I haven't seen
it's always, I think their part of the story is the most important part. We get people out every day that have, they come and they say, last time I was in this plane, I bailed out over Germany and I was a prisoner of war.
Wow.
For a year or 2 years. So we get to hear a lot of amazing stories and of sacrifice and what people had to go through back in the days. A lot of people who's seen, their comrades go down in some plane right next to them. And I'm always amazed of how these people, what they went through, what they did, and they had to not only fly one mission, but they had to go and do it over and over again. And some people would do up to about 50 missions.
Yeah.